Midshipmen, faculty, and staff, it's a great honor to kick off today's event. I only have a moment to speak today, but please don't let the brevity of my comments detract from the heartfelt thanks I wish to give to the people that made today's event possible. First and foremost, I would like to thank Professor Karimi Hakak from the University of Maryland. This is kind of embarrassing in a way because I'm getting old now, but he was a professor of mine during graduate school at University of Washington. He opened up a whole world to me through his program in Persian language and literature. This short poem, the Shahnameh, he was the first person to sort of clue me into that. So Professor Karimi, thank you for all that you've done for the legions of students who've been under your care. I would also like to thank the staff in Bancroft Hall, both lieutenants and civilian staff. Midshipmen, if you think that this is easy, it is only because there is a bunch of LTs and staff who exerted an enormous amount of patience in dealing with me. Lieutenants and staff, thank you for your tireless support. I would like to thank the Friends of the Jewish Chapel, especially Rabbi Warren, Mr. Hofberger, and especially Midshipman Engel. Congratulations, Noah, this is your first event. Thanks for providing today's coffee clutch and sharing the beautiful space at the Levy Center. MSC, thanks here today for your media support. Many thanks to Brendan Beers for the beautiful design you gave us for Dr. Ebadi's poster. Midshipman, the bird in the image was meant to be a Simurg, so look it up, Simurg, S-I-M-U-R-G. Look it up, you're smart, I know you can find it somewhere online. That'll be your first Persian culture lesson for today. I'd like to thank the Bilden family and the class of 1955 for their support of this event, but more importantly for their vision in facilitating an environment of learning at the Academy. And lastly, I want to take a moment to remember Kylan Jones Huffman, a Naval Academy graduate who was killed in Iraq while on temporary active duty. He was a member of the Department of History and had just been accepted into George Washington University's history program, where he hoped to pursue a PhD in Persian history. It is in his memory we dedicate this lecture. Please join me in welcoming the Naval Academy's very own Ambassador John Limbert to the podium so that he can introduce Dr. Ebadi.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mark. I'm not going to repeat all the thanks. I'm going to add. I'm just going to add three. One is to Mr. Mark Reese, whose hard work we have been working. He's been working for, I think, at least 5 years to make Dr. Ebadi's presence here a reality. And as you know, nothing comes easily, but it was his persistence and his hard work that has made this day. Finally, second to my colleagues, whom I see here from the history and the political science department, and some from other departments as well, who have always been great supporters of our programs, and finally to my beloved wife Parvaneh, who is here and has sort of shown me the ways into the mysteries of the Middle East, and particularly Iran, where I am still working my way through in the dark, but at least she provides some guidance when I listen. A brief introduction for Dr. Ebadi. After graduating from Tehran University Law School in 1970, she became a judge at the age of 23 in Tehran. In 1980, she was removed from her judgeship as part of a general purge of women judges following the Islamic Revolution and the establishment of the Islamic Republic. She was made, along with other women judges, she was made essentially a clerk. They were demoted to do clerical work, often in the very same courtrooms where they had presided. She continued to She continued to perform to be at the Ministry of Justice, but as a matter of protest, under protest, she simply refused to do anything. She said, you can call me a clerk, but you cannot make me work as a clerk. She retired from the Ministry of Justice in 1987, and in 1992, she started private practice as a lawyer in Tehran, where she quickly made a name for herself as a champion of women's rights, children's rights, and the rights of political dissidents. As you might imagine, this did not earn her a lot of thanks from the government of the Islamic Republic. In 2003, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, and in the citation, it cited her efforts for democracy and rights and human rights, and the struggle for the rights of women and children. Now, throughout the 37-year lifespan of the Islamic Republic, it has a very difficult relationship with both its intellectuals and its women. Maybe it's not a coincidence, or maybe it is a coincidence, that today, November 4th, marks 37 years since a group calling itself the Muslim Student Followers of the Imam's Line seized the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and put Iran on a path not only with an estrangement with the United States, which has continued to this day, but on a path of dictatorship, war, brutality, and victimizing its best people. To put it simply, the Islamic Republic is afraid of its intellectuals, it's afraid of its smart people, and it's afraid of its women. And it is, in its fear, it is lashed out and silenced, intimidated, imprisoned, and even murdered those it fears. It is very much afraid of both, and its fear doubles when it is faced with someone like Dr. Ebadi, who is both. She is not only a woman, but she is smart, determined, courageous, and absolutely committed to ensuring fair treatment for all of her compatriots, particularly women and children. In other words, Dr. Ebadi is the Islamic Republic's equivalent of a nasty woman. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Nobel laureate Dr. Shirin Ebadi.
سلام میکنم به همه شما اساتید و دانشجویان عزیز.
Good afternoon to all of the professors and all the midshipmen here.
بسیار خوشحالم که این شانس رو داشتم که بتونم بیام توی این دانشگاهی که واقعا در حد خودش نمونه است آشنا بشم با شما حرف بزنم.
I'm very glad to have had the opportunity to come to this academy, which is unique in its type, and talk to you people.
همونطوری که شنیدید امروز یک روز خاصی هم هست، روزی است که تعدادی از بنیادگرایان اسلامی در کشور من ایران تعدادی از دیپلمات‌های آمریکایی رو به گروگان گرفتن.
And as you heard earlier, today is a unique day, meaning it's the anniversary of a day where a number of Islamic fundamentalists in my country took hostage American diplomats.
این عملی بود که باعث شرم همه ما ایرانی ها شد.
This brought embarrassment to all of us Iranians.
و مغایر با کنوانسیون های بین المللی است که دولت ایران هم قبول کرده.
And it's against all the international conventions that the government of Iran has acceded to.
و تعداد زیادی از افرادی که این عمل زشت رو انجام دادن بعدها اظهار پشیمانی کردند.
And many of the people who contributed to this ugly act have regretted it afterwards.
اما متاسفانه هنوز تعدادی از اونها هستن که از عمل بیشرمانه خودشون دفاع میکنن.
But unfortunately, there are still some who do defend their embarrassing act.
و باید بگم اینا کسانی هستن که هنوز هم در قدرت سیاسی ایرانن.
And I have to say that these people are in the political power in Iran.
و به همین دلیله که چالش های زیادی مردم با این حکومت دارن، برای اینکه اصولاً حکومت ایران مورد تایید مردم نیست.
And this is why people have a lot of challenges with this government. The government of Iran is not accepted by the people of Iran.
سیاست داخلی و همچنین سیاست خارجی حکومت ایران مورد مخالفت اکثریت قریب به اتفاق مردمه.
The domestic and the foreign policy of Iran is actually not approved by the majority of the people. I can say a majority close to all of the people of Iran.
در زمینه سیاست‌های داخلی نقض حقوق بشر در ایران خیلی زیاده.
When it comes to domestic policy, violations of human rights are prevalent in Iran.
از جمله زندانی کردن روزنامه‌نگاران که ایران تبدیل شده به یک زندانی بزرگ برای خبرنگاران.
For example, putting journalists in prison, Iran has become a big prison for journalists.
در زمینه سیاست‌های خارجی منابع مالی ما به جای اینکه صرف بهبود زندگی مردم در داخل ایران بشه، متاسفانه صرف هزینه‌های نظامی برای کشتار مردم شده.
And when it comes to foreign policy, instead of using our financial resources for the welfare of the people of Iran, unfortunately it is used for foreign militaries that engage in killing of people.
که یک نمونهش کمک به بشار اسد که در سرکوب مردم.
One of the examples is helping Bashar Assad in suppressing its people.
کمک به حوثی‌های یمن.
Also helping the Houthis in Yemen.
تشکیل و کمک به حزب الله لبنان.
Forming and aiding the Hezbollah in Lebanon.
دخالت در امور داخلی بحرین.
Intervention in the affairs of Bahrain.
خاورمیانه در آتش جنگ داره میسوزه.
The Middle East is burning in the flame of war.
و این بیشتر به خاطر رقابت‌های سیاسی ایران و عربستانه.
And this is mostly the result of the political competition between Iran and Saudi Arabia.
ایران قبل از سال 1979 رژیم سلطنتی داشت و بزرگترین قدرت سیاسی و نظامی منطقه بود.
Prior to the 1979 revolution, Iran had a monarchy, and it was the largest military and political power in the Middle East, in the region.
و در اون موقع عربستان سعودی به خاطر که مکه درش قرار داشت رهبر مذهبی بود و بین این دو رهبر نظامی و مذهبی هم اختلافی نبود. همه به نوعی هر دو همدیگر رو قبول داشتن.
And Saudi Arabia, where Mecca is located, of course, was the a religious center for the region, and it was Saudi Arabia was the religious leader of the region, and so both of these countries actually tolerated each other, and they were not in competition with each other.
اما در سال 1979 یک انقلاب اسلامی شد و لیدر ما یعنی لیدر انقلاب در حقیقت یک روحانی بود و از اون موقع ادعا کردن که رهبر مذهبی جهان هم ایرانه.
However, in 1979, a revolution occurred in my country. The leader of that revolution was a religious clergy, spiritual leader, and from that then on, it was the claim that Iran is the religious power in the region as well.
و رقابت‌های سیاسی از همون موقع شروع شد و چندین نوبت اختلاف خیلی بالا گرفت تا حدی که چند سال هم رفتن به سفر حج که برای مسلمان‌ها ضروری است از طرف ایران تعطیل شد.
The political competition took up, and in many years, even going to Hajj, which is a necessity for all Muslims, was banned by the government of Iran.
ایران یک کشور شیعه است و عربستان هم سنی و هر دو کشور پشت مذهب قایم شدند.
Iran is a Shia country, and Saudi Arabia is a Sunni country, and both countries have hidden behind their religion.
و الان قسمت بزرگ یعنی یکی از علل اصلی مشکلات خاورمیانه رقابت‌های این دو کشوره که پشت مذهب قایم شدن و میگن جنگ شیعه و سنی. شیعه و سنی جنگی ندارن. این رقابت‌های سیاسی است که اینطوری بروز میکنه.
And it's as a result of the political competitions of these two countries that the war is going on, and they both hide behind their religions, and they claim as if this is a war between the Shias and the Sunnis, whereas the Shias and the Sunnis have no fighting with each other. This is just a political matter.
روسیه از ایران حمایت میکنه و حتی در یکی از شهرهای ایران هم یک پایگاه نظامی زده.
Russia supports Iran, and in actually one of the cities in Iran, they have founded and put a base, a military base there.
چین یکی از بزرگترین شرکای تجاری ایرانه.
And China is one of the greatest trade partners of Iran.
و سوی دیگر آمریکا هم از عربستان حمایت میکنه.
On the other hand, the U.S. supports Saudi Arabia.
و در حقیقت یک جنگ نیابتی در خاورمیانه راه افتاد.
So in reality, in the Middle East, there is a proxy war being fought.
که نتیجهش کشتن صدها هزار غیر نظامی بیگناهه.
The result is killing thousands and hundreds of thousands of civilians who are innocent.
و ویران شدن بسیاری از شهرهای تاریخی.
And destruction of many historical cities.
جنگ جز خرابی و ویرانی چیزی نداره.
War only brings destruction.
و فقط سودش برای کارخانجات اسلحه سازی است.
And it's only the weapon manufacturers who benefit from wars.
هرگز باور نکنید که دموکراسی رو با جنگ میشه به کشوری برد.
Don't ever believe that you can bring democracy to a country through war.
و اینها یک بهانه‌هایی است برای اینکه جنگ رو توجیه بکنن.
These are only excuses to justify wars.
من تصورم این است که دانشگاه‌های نظامی هدف و رسالتشون این نیست که جنگجویان خوبی تربیت کنند.
What I understand is that military schools and academies do not have the purpose of training good warriors.
رسالت دانشگاه‌های نظامی این است که افرادی رو تربیت کنن که از جنگ جلوگیری کنه.
but they should train people who can prevent wars.
و من بسیار خوشحالم در این 2 روزی که دیروز و امروزی که در اینجا بودم و چیزایی که از اساتید شما و از خود دانشجوها شنیدم، میبینم که این مسئله چقدر مورد توجه در اینجاست.
During the last 2 days that I've been here, I have heard a lot from the professors and also from the midshipmen. And I know that this academy really focuses on this matter.
و من امیدوارم در آینده که شما امرای ارتش میشوید جهان وضعیت بهتری داشته باشه.
And I hope in the future, when you guys become the admirals of the world, the situation in the world is better.
من دیروز وقتی که اظهار تعجب خودم رو از این برنامه‌های زیبایی که و دروسی که برای شما گذاشتن به یکی از اساتیدتون گفتم، یه جمله خیلی جالبی به من گفت که برای من بسیار با ارزشه.
Yesterday, when I was talking to one of your professors after having talked to midshipmen and after we ate with them, he gave me an answer which is very valuable for me.
اون گفتش که ما از گذشته عبرت گرفتیم.
What he said was that we have learned our lesson from the past.
و این خیلی با ارزشه، برای اینکه هر انسانی و هر سیاستمداری و هر ملتی بالاخره اشتباه میکنه. مهم اینه که ما عبرت بگیریم.
And this is very valuable. Why? Because every human being, every diplomat, every nation makes mistakes. But what counts is that we learn from our mistakes.
و امیدوارم این عبرت یک بار دیگه تکرار بشه.
And I hope that we again learn this a lesson.
اشاره من به جنگی است که با آیسیس به راه افتاده.
What I want to focus on is the war with ISIS.
در اینکه این یک گروه بنیادگرای تروریستی، هیچ بحثی نیست و تروریست‌ها بایستی از بین برن.
There is no doubt that this group is a terrorist group, and there's no doubt that they have to come to an end. The terrorists have to be put to an end.
اما توجه داشته باشید که آیسیس فقط یک گروه تروریستی نیست، بلکه یک تفکر غلطه.
But remember that ISIS is not only a terrorist group, but a wrong mentality.
و تفکر غلط رو با بم نمیشه از بین برد.
And a wrong mentality or concept cannot be terminated by bombs.
این تجربه‌ای بود که در جنگ با طالبان داشتین شما.
And this was the experience that we had in the war with the Taliban.
تقریبا از ابتدای قرن حاضر مداوم طالبان در گروه‌های مختلف که هستن کشته میشن. اما سوال من اینه که آیا طالبان ضعیف شد؟ آیا تعدادشون کم شد؟
From the beginning of this century, we hear that the Taliban are being killed. They may be members of different groups, but have they become weakened? Have the numbers decreased?
متاسفانه هر بنیادگرای تروریستی رو که شما کشتید چند نفر از خانواده‌اش تفنگ دست گرفتن و همون راه رو ادامه دادن.
Unfortunately, any terrorist who was killed, the members of his family, maybe more than one, took up weapons and started killing other people.
و می‌بینیم که به این صورته که طالبان ریشه زده و همه جا رو گرفته. حتی آیسیس هم در حقیقت میشه گفت منشأ و ریشه اصلیش در این گروه هاست.
And this is how we see that the roots of the Taliban have taken over. Even ISIS, if you look at it, could be a branch of the same kind of groups.
و این به این دلیل بود که شما با تفکر طالبانی مبارزه نکردید، بلکه با طالبان مبارزه کردید.
So, and this is because what was fought against was not the concept of the Taliban, but the Taliban themselves.
تفکر بنیادگرایانه‌ای که باعث چنین عملیات خشنی میشه در دو چیزه.
The fundamentalist concept that exists in these groups and results in all this destruction can be found in two things.
اول تعصب که خودش ناشی از جهل مردمه.
First is prejudice, which comes from ignorance of people.
شما اگر اینها رو نگاه کنید می‌بینید اینا معمولاً از طبقاتی هستند که یا کم سوادند و یا سواد خاصی و جهتدار بهشون داده شده.
If you look at these people, you will see that they're mostly illiterate, maybe very little literacy, or if they have been to school, their learning has been directed towards a special concept.
به عنوان مثال شاید بد نباشه که شما بدانید در بسیاری از کشورهای اسلامی مثلا داروین رو ممنوع درس بدن.
For example, you may find it interesting to know that in some Islamic countries, educational systems, Darwin is not taught.
در حالتی که دانش درست دانشی است که دنیا رو به جوانها یاد بدیم که خودشون انتخاب کنن.
Whereas we need to teach young people knowledge and science that exists and leave it up to the young people themselves to determine what they want to follow.
شما چه توقعی دارید از کسی که تا سن 20 سالگی فقط از یک منشأ چیزی یاد گرفته و فکر میکنه دنیا فقط همونی است که بهش یاد دادن؟
So what can we expect from a 20-year-old who has his or her knowledge only from one source and believes that the world circles around that one source?
و به همین دلیل است که من همواره گفتم بر سر آیسیس به جای بمب کتاب بریزید.
And this is why I have always said, instead of bombs, throw books at ISIS.
و منظور من این است که راه‌های مختلف تفکر رو به اینها بیاموزید.
And what I mean is teach them critical thinking, the different ways of thinking.
به جای هزینه‌های هنگفت جنگ مدرسه بسازید.
So instead of spending millions and millions of dollars on wars, build schools.
کامپیوترهای ارزان قیمت رو بین جوانان پخش بکنید.
And distribute inexpensive computers among young people.
که بتونن با دنیا ارتباط داشته باشن.
So that they can be in contact with the rest of the world.
و اما پایه دیگر افکار تروریستی در ناامیدی از عدالته.
And the other reason that drives people to terrorist thinking is being desperate about justice.
وقتی که در یک کشوری استبداد هست، کاراپشن هست و اختلاف طبقاتی بسیار زیاده و سالها مردم در این شرایط باقی میمونن، ناامیدن، خشمگینن.
When there's dictatorship in a country, where there's corruption in a country, where there's illiteracy in a country, where people are poor, for years and years people lose hope and they become angry.
وقتی که چند نسل گرسنه هستند، پا برهنه هستند، فکر میکنید تا کی میتونن اینا تحمل بکنن؟
So how many when numerous generations are hungry, when they are all bare feet, how many generations do you think they can put up with this situation?
هیچ وقت نگید اونا مال مملکت خودشونه، به ما چه، با ما فاصلهشون زیاده.
So let's not say that, well, that's another country, they're far away from us.
ما دیگه در عصر جهانی شدن به سر میبریم. هر اتفاقی که هر جای جهان بیفته به شماها را مربوطه.
We live in the globalization age, so anything that happens anywhere in the world does impact you.
الان سیل عظیم پناهنده ها رو میبینید که چطور به اروپا و بعد به آمریکا و کانادا میان.
For example, do you see the refugees, the millions of refugees who are coming to Europe and may want to come to the United States as well?
این نتیجه حمایت غرب از دیکتاتورهایی مانند بشار اسد و سایر حکومت‌های غیر دموکراتیک اون منطقه بود که اونجا رو با آتیش کشید.
This was the result of the support of the West from countries like, or dictators like Bashar Assad and other countries in that area, which resulted in war and in the flame of war taking over.
من خوشحالم که شما به جای تیراندازی اینجور چیزا رو یاد میگیرید.
But I'm very glad to hear that instead of learning to shoot, you people focus on these things.
و امیدوارم با شما در آینده جهان بهتر بشه.
And I hope that in the future the world will be a better place with you people in it.
اگر وقتی باقی مونده باشه من سوالی داشته باشید جواب میدم.
And I will take any questions if we do have time. بله یه مقداری.
Let's start the first question. If you could speak up a little bit, we don't have microphones in the crowd.
Okay, بله.
احتیاج به این نیست ها، این کار
There's
میکنه.
always the first brave midshipman. Great guys.
خب ببینیم کی سوالی داره.
Shirin, first class Ryle. My question is, so when we try to bring education to foreign nations, a lot of times these schools get taken over by the strongest people, especially once we need them. So how do we make sure that these schools, if we do bring education, are long-lasting structures?
ما وقتی که در جایی مدرسه میسازیم اگه خودمون در اونجا باقی نمونیم معلوم نیستیم مدرسه به دست کی میفته و خیلی وقتا هست که مدارس به دست دیگران افرادی که در قدرتن میفته. خیلی وقتا مثلا به عنوان مدرسه استفاده نمیشه. چجوری میتونیم مطمئن باشیم که این همیشه مدرسه باشه؟
سوال بسیار خوبی است و اصولاً توی حکومت‌های غیر دموکراتیک نظام آموزشی تحت کنترل دولته.
That's a very good question, but in general in non-democratic governments the educational system is in the hands of the government.
ولیکن بودن شما و به منزله حضور فیزیکی شما نیست. باید باشید ولیکن حضور معنوی و فرهنگی شما مهمه.
So what counts is not that you are there physically. What counts is that you bring the education and you keep the spirit of education there.
خوشبختانه اینترنت کمک بسیار موثری است در این ارتباط.
Fortunately, the internet can help a lot in this regard.
ولی با قبول این که ممکنه سوء استفاده بشه از همون مدرسه ولیکن قبول کنید که ساختن بهتر از کشتنه.
Yes, it may be abused and people may take advantage of that school that has been built, but we need to accept that building a school is better than destructing.
Couple more questions?
Shirin Jones. If the human rights violations in Iran are so egregious and people are so fed up with the regime, why is there not an uprising similar to what we've seen in the Arab Spring?
چطوره که با اینکه اینقدر شما میگین تخلفات حقوق بشری توسط دولت زیاده در ایران، مردم ایران بلند نمیشن مثل بهار عربی؟
مردم ایران در 37 سال گذشته یک انقلاب خونین و 8 سال جنگ با صدام حسین رو تجربه کردن.
The people of Iran during the last 38 years have experienced a bloody revolution and also 8 years of war with Saddam Hussein.
و این برای یک نسل خیلی زیاده. بنابراین مردم ایران بسیار صلح طلبند و از راه مسالمت آمیز با حکومت مخالفت میکنند.
And this is too much for a generation. The people of Iran are peaceful, and through peaceful ways, they want to resist the governments.
که نمونه آخرش رو ما در جنبش سبز در سال 2009 دیدیم.
And the best example of it was the Green Movement in 2009.
در یک روز بدون اینکه برنامه ریزی خاصی شده باشه بیش از 1 میلیون نفر آمدن تو خیابون و یه پارچه سبز رو به علامت اعتراض توی دست داشتن.
And on a single day, approximately 1 million people took to the streets, although it was not organized from beforehand, and they were holding a green piece of cloth, which meant that they were peaceful. It was a peaceful protest.
اما حکومت متاسفانه بسیار با خشونت رفتار میکنه و هر صدایی رو سعی میکنه خفه کنه.
But unfortunately, the government is very violent and tries to silence every sound or every voice.
وقتی که تغییر قرار از طریق مسالمت آمیز بخواد صورت بگیره طبیعتاً پیشرفت کنده و طول میکشه، ولی از خرابی و جنگ بهتره.
If we want to bring change by peaceful means, of course it's going to take a long time, but it's much better than war and destruction.
و مردم ایران با حکومت مخالفن، ولی به هیچ وجه حاضر نیستن دست به خشونت بزنن.
And the people of Iran are against the government, but they don't want to resort to violence.
و من میدونم که یه روزی که چندان دیر نیست موفق میشن که خواسته هاشون رو اجرا کنن.
And I know that a day which is not that far will come that they will achieve their goals.
On that note, let's thank Dr. Ebadi again for
خادمم برای شما دارم.
So it's tough being a Navy employee, figuring out what you can give a Nobel Peace Prize.
خیلی سخته آدم بخواد جایزه‌ای به برنده نوبل بده، ولی که اینو می‌خوایم بذارین رو میزتون و به یاد ما باشه. و خیلی تشکر می‌کنیم از اینکه اینجا بودید.